Hello, ladies and gentlemen. As all of you know, I'm a honkaistarrail channel and I thought on getting into some other gacha games that I've heard of to discuss with you. I'm almost sure 99% of my current subscribers never knew I played Final Fantasy Opera Omnia and made like 300 videos about it. Now that I've traded my soul from one abusive multi-billion-dollar company to another, I feel as though I need to broaden my horizons a little more and learn about this odd genre. While I was doing so and researching other games, I was remembered of a very specific event that happened while I was getting started on Starrail content creation around a year ago. Wasn't there a gacha game that tweeted their EOS at the same time as its release? And sure enough, with the use of Google and browsing my private Twitter likes after scrolling through pages of Zani fan art, I found the exact game to yap for a few minutes about that would be eligible for mid-roll ads. I hope this video would serve as an entertaining reminder that the world of gacha is a bizzarro subsection of the already bizarre gaming industry, and hopefully as a piece of knowledge to those that are limited in knowledge of the genre and can look at gacha games in a new light. Let's talk about the curious game that announced its end before its beginning: Love Live School Idol Festival 2 Miracle Live. To start, we can't talk about the sequel without the original. It's pretty important in this case, I'm not padding out time. The original gacha game that preceded our lovely game of Japanese idol appreciation was Love Live School Idol Festival. Yeah, I just omitted everything from the two part. It released on April 2013 and shut down before its sequel on March 2023, which means that this game almost lasted 10 years, which is an incredible statistic. Think about it. The game lasted long enough to see the rise of Filthy Frank, the coronavirus, and Skibidi Toilet. Most gacha games can barely reach their third anniversary, and this game was apparently so successful that it ran for a decade, which should speak to the appeal that it had on its core audience. Anyway, I didn't play this game as I thought playing idol games back then was just not my cup of tea, but reading the reviews and looking at the gameplay, I can see why it worked so well. It had simple but skill-based rhythm gameplay with some 3D cutscenes of your favorite girls jumping around. The song list being extensive helped a lot, and the fact that it's using one of the cornerstones of modern idol anime's intellectual property that had a successful running anime helped a lot with its longevity to push out newer songs as they appeared in the show. For a 2013 gacha game, it's pretty cool, I guess. They also had a collab with Code Geass apparently, which is fun to think about if you know what that entails. Anyway, now that we got the big picture, what happened with this game? Well, we don't exactly know until the horse's mouth say what it was about, but the fact that it ran for 9 years was probably the main reason for it. This is my theory. Gacha games have evolved quite a lot, specifically during the period of lockdown. A lot of its gameplay wouldn't be up to standards for long, it's natural, especially at attracting fresh players. This waning interest of the potential audience, coupled with the fact that any game would start to get severely bloated for years of service, is probably the biggest reason. It's akin to fixing a Jenga tower. After years of replacing bits of the old system with new ones, at some point you can't take out the old pieces anymore, that it's way better to just start from scratch and build a new Jenga tower. Whatever this specific reason was, they decided to end service on SIF, but clearly they saw a lot of hope as they announced the sequel in which you can port your years of data on the original game. This kinda reinforces the theories of data bloat and archaic concerns we talked about. After a month, the game was shelved by end of service. In April 2023, they released School Idol Festival 2 in Japan. Note that for later. And well, it didn't really pick up as much steam. The problem with SIF2 is, I mean, for someone that doesn't have experience in either game or the idol genre in general, they look pretty similar, and I can't really dissect why the game failed without playing it. So I'll avoid that topic altogether because the deeper story is in the version releases. Why did I specify just Japan release? Well, it's because the global version, which included Chinese, English, and Korean versions, didn't really come out with them. And yes, it was planned to release later in 2023. This isn't really a rare occurrence, but it was eventually delayed for whatever reason that we don't know. But don't worry, we eventually got the answer on 2024 of the next year. On February 1st, 2024, the official account released a Twitter post announcing the release of the global version. And, you know, that's cool, we finally got our answer. And a sentence later from that same announcement, it announced that it will shut down a mere 3 months after the fact. This was also after end of service was announced for March on the JP version. That is awkward. The craziest part about this is that even with an EOS announcement, they still aren't going to stop you from spending money on the game, which I don't know exactly what the logic is for that. Even an idle fan that froths at the mouth at the sight of Nico wouldn't be irrational enough to spend on a game that dies in 3 months, but maybe I'm wrong. Calling this a cash grab or a rug pull wouldn't even be accurate since they were so transparent that this lasts for 3 months. It's the best FOMO ever in theory, but it's like playing chess with a dog. Nobody really wins. Without concrete official statements, I can only suggest a theory for how this EOS situation happened. At this point, it is taken by fact by a large majority of people that know about it because it's as typical of a story of a gacha game as you can get. The original SIF was shut down in hopes that SIF 2 would be a much more stable game while replicating the success of the original. They might have delayed the global version simply due to the lack of dev time, and they'd hoped the Japanese version would pay for the global manpower. And sadly, it appears as though the lukewarm success of SIF 2 couldn't pay for a fast enough development of the global version. Eventually, when the chopping block was coming for the Japanese version, they decided it's time to nuke it. However, either as goodwill or simply as a way to not waste dev resources, they decided to rush out 1 more month of finishing the global version and release it to the public with no hope of long-term sustainability. This piece of news was probably much bigger attention than the game ever got in its release due to how odd it is, and you really can't make this stuff up. While we might laugh at this situation and others like it, it does present the ever-fleeting nature of gacha games. I know that for most people that play Hoyo games, which I focus on, or even Kuro games, end of service is such an alien concept to them and very few actually see it happen to the game they like. It's mostly just a joke since Hoyo is so good with their money. They can even keep their lower priority games like Tears of Themis running. But the reality is that Hoyo is not the norm, and many developers of gacha games grasp for money to keep their game running, especially games that have well-known IPs that cost a hell of a lot of money, which is why gacha games focused on anime seem to run so short outside of notable exceptions like SIF. Nevertheless, this Anatomy of EOS has a pretty rich story on what you need to learn about gacha games. Each game outside of the top always runs into the risk of becoming a rug pull that lasts 3 months. Even well-established gacha series can get nuked by wrong timing or simply lack of interest. And even on its dying days, they aren't above taking your money one last time. It's a pretty interesting story, but amusingly this is not as rare as you think it is. With the amount of gacha games released outside of the English barrier, who knows how many cases like this exist. I would bet money at least 5. Either way, SIF 2 will go down in history as one of the prime examples of the weird nature of gacha games and its fleeting nature. Anyway, I hope you guys like this new genre of video that I'm trying to do. Like, comment, subscribe, do the algorithm stuff, and I'll see you later. I guess I'll be doing more HSR content or more stuff like this if this becomes actually successful. Anyway, I'll see ya. Bye bye.